Hey Canucks fans, let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens and their connections to the Vancouver Canucks and to the province of BC. I'm Canuck Clay. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Friday, June the 25th. Subscribe now for Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. Montreal Canadiens punching their ticket to the Stanley Cup Finals with a 3-2 overtime victory over the Vegas Golden Knights last night. Terry Lehkonen scoring about a minute and a half into overtime. And it's crazy. I've talked about in the NHL playoffs, for overtime, it seems like it's either going to be a marathon, 3, 4, 5 periods, extra periods of play, or more, I think more frequently, the game ends in the first 5 minutes of overtime. Sometimes the first 1 or 2 minutes of overtime. I don't know why. Maybe people are nervous or people are excited. Regardless, last night was another good example of that, only a minute and a half into overtime for the Montreal Canadiens to win. Now, if they play against Tampa, admittedly, I will likely be cheering for Tampa. I won't be cheering against Montreal, but I'll be cheering for Tampa as they are my third favorite team behind Vancouver and Winnipeg. However, if the New York Islanders win tonight, then I'll be cheering for Montreal over the Islanders. I don't cheer for Montreal just because their franchise is located in Canada, north of the 49th parallel, north of the border. I'll cheer for Montreal because they're a pretty good team with some connections to the Canucks and to BC, which I'll get to in a second. But I, for one, don't get into this whole thing about bringing the Stanley Cup north of the border. For me, that's not my thing. It's nothing to do with the fact that I thought the Canucks weren't really supported by the rest of the country back in 2011. Nothing to do with that. To me, it's not a big thing. I'd rather cheer for the team as opposed to what country their franchise is located in. So that's one thing. But we'll see what happens. It's still a really exciting story, given that they're the last team to make the playoffs, the 16th, in terms of points, the 16th best team going in the playoffs, and now they'll be one of the final two. By the way, they just released the schedule for the Stanley Cup Finals starting on Monday, June the 28th. It'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Of course, those last 3 games, if necessary, and all of them are 8 p.m. Eastern start times, 5 p.m. Pacific, except for Game 7, if necessary, bumping an hour earlier to 7 p.m. Eastern time and 4 p.m. Pacific. But we can worry about that later. We'll preview this series a bit later. We don't even know who Montreal's playing yet. So let's focus on the Montreal Canadiens. Now, like I said, I like them as a team. I think they're a well-constructed team, and it has nothing to do with them being in Canada. And it's crazy to think everyone went through a crazy season. They went through their own COVID outbreak, a smaller one than the Canucks, but they went through an outbreak. They fired their head coach, replaced with Dominic Ducharme. Then Dominic Ducharme not even on the bench for the past few games because of COVID. They fired their goaltending coach, Stéphane Waite. So there's been a lot of turmoil in Montreal, and yet here they are on the cusp, or I'd say on the cusp of winning, but they're one of the 2 finalists, which is a pretty amazing story. There are 4 obvious connections to the Vancouver Canucks and to the province of BC. The first one is Alex Burrows, longtime Canuck great, Ring of Honor inductee, and he is one of the 2 assistant coaches basically thrust into the limelight, along with Luke Richardson, coaching the Montreal Canadiens team in the absence of Dominic Ducharme. And Burrows, I think he runs their offense kind of like what Neil Brown used to do here, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see, and a lot of people are making the parallels that 10 years ago, he was a big reason why the Canucks made it to the finals to play against Boston, and now 10 years later, i.e. now, he's a big reason from behind the bench why the Montreal Canadiens are in the finals against, again, Tampa or the New York Islanders. So a lot of people here, rightfully so, rooting for Alex Burrows, cheering for Alex Burrows, hoping that he gets that cup that a lot of people think he deserves. Although it won't be with Vancouver, it'll still be a Stanley Cup nonetheless. And a lot of people cheering for Burrows and really like him and still really attached to him here. So that's the first connection to the Canucks. The second one, an obvious one, is Tyler Toffoli. And I'm not going to spend a bunch of time here rehashing why he didn't get re-signed here and how the Canucks maybe were not as proactive as they should have been. But my question to you, I would love to know in the comments below, is do you cheer for Tyler Toffoli specifically because we had him here for a month of the regular season and a month of playoffs? Do you cheer against him because you don't want him to succeed because he's an ex-Canuck? Or are you kind of neutral? You're like, okay, he was here, but really for a cup of tea, and no one's going to remember him as a lifelong Canuck or anything like that, or a difference maker for the Vancouver Canucks. Although he played very well and he came back in the playoff bubble last year, came back from injury very quickly. So what are your thoughts on Tyler Toffoli? That connection with the Canucks, obviously. And I've heard other people want to see him succeed just so they can rub it into Jim Benning's face of why they should have kept him. To me, that's a little bit backwards thinking, but I can see where if people are still bitter about that, they might have that attitude. Or maybe a better, more positive way of looking at it, GLCPC, is that without slamming in Jim Benning's face, you're just happy for Tyler Toffoli because he seemed to like it here when he was here for that short period of time. He seemed to indicate that he wanted to stay here, and we know why that didn't work out. So are we happy for him as a player that he'll have a chance to potentially win the Stanley Cup? So that's the second connection to the Vancouver Canucks, is Tyler Toffoli, who played here last year, the first one being Alex Burrows. Then there's two connections to BC-born players. One of them is Shea Weber, the captain, the stalwart on the blue line. He was born in Sycamus, BC. Or is it Sycamoose? I should know. No, it sounds like... Actually, I've heard both, Sycamus and Sycamoose. If you're from there or you know for sure, leave in the comments. I'm not ignorant. I'm born and raised in BC. I just don't say that town's name a lot. Anyways, I've always liked Shea Weber, actually, since the 2010 Olympics. I thought him and Drew Doughty and Duncan Keith and all those guys on the blue line were so good on that powerhouse Olympic team. So I've liked him since then. So I followed his career, of course, Nashville, Montreal. He seems like, despite how big and how rugged he is and how scary he is to play against, seems like an overall good guy too, like most BC guys are, like most BC hockey players are. So I'm, not all, but most. So that's an interesting connection there, is Shea Weber having a chance to win the Cup. And of course, in goal, maybe the biggest reason why Montreal has gotten this far, Carey Price, goaltender from Anaheim Lake, and from here as well, First Nations, Indigenous bloodlines. So that was exciting. That's exciting to hear him use his some of that language in the post-game interview yesterday. And Carey Price is overall good guy, a family guy, and everyone loves him. Everyone loves him, and I'm glad to see that both him and Weber, yes, they got those massive long-term contracts, but at least they are this year making fans forget about those contracts for sure. So those are 4 connections to the Canucks, or to BC, and 4 really good people, actually, and it would lead someone to likely cheer for Montreal even for that reason, because they are good people who are connected to the Vancouver Canucks. Alex Burrows, I just had a brain fart. Alex Burrows, Tyler Toffoli, Shea Weber, and Carey Price. Canucks fans, for you, of those 4 guys, are you most happy for one, most looking forward to, most excited for one guy more than the others? Maybe it's Burrows because of his long tenure here. Maybe it's Toffoli because you want to see him succeed, or you want to see him stick it to Jim Benning. Again, that's not my tact, but I know some people are thinking that way. Gonna let this big truck pass by. Or is it one of Shea Weber or Carey Price, veterans who've done a lot in the league and wanting, both born and raised in BC, wanting to win a Stanley Cup? So the Montreal Canadiens, yes, a lot of connections to Vancouver, to BC, and to the Canucks team itself. We can break down tomorrow if Tampa or the Islanders, whoever wins, if they have any such connections. There's a couple on each team, but certainly, off the top of my head, you think of Matthew Barzal already from Coquitlam playing on the Islanders, and you think of a guy like Luke Shen, who played here for 1 season on the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I'm sure there's more that I just haven't thought about off the top of my head. But I'll worry about that tomorrow. For today, comment below on, which connection to the Canucks to BC stands out to you the most? Which guy are you cheering for the most? And are you going to be cheering for the Montreal Canadiens regardless of opponent? And tell me why. So let's talk about the Canadiens, and let's talk about it in the comment section. Leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply, as always. Shout out to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, Simalexander, Justin Credible, nucksfan number 29, Lucas Gates, Chris Seifried, Adam Broomfield, Shea Family Channel, Jamie Sports Talk and More, and Shannon Hollingworth. Thanks for your support as always, and thanks to the support of all members of all levels. You are listed in my video descriptions. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or any of my videos, or in the memberships tab on my YouTube channel. There we go. Subscribe if you like to, like this video if you like to, leave a comment if you like to, and join the CCC Crew if you'd like to. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Enjoy Game 7 tonight, Tampa and the Islanders. God bless, and go Canucks go.